Welcome to video 1 on how Transport Fever 2 can be used as a model railway simulator. In this episode we'll focus on the difference in scale between the classical model railway scales like HO or N and how to transfer that to Transport Fever. Originally, Transport Fever wasn't even meant to be a model railroad sim as such. It is a game of economics, but it is also very well suited, the game engine is, to create a much smaller scale world, a model railroad on HO or even N scale, and build your own houses and trees as you would do with a real model railway. Why would we even want to do this? Well, just for fun maybe, that could be the good reason, but also in my case I had this HO layout planned to build at my house. I was already working on it. This is what I had. There's no scenery in it, but then I was moving to a smaller apartment and I don't have room for this layout anymore, but now I can make it in Transport Fever 2 and I can still play with my own mini layout, and I have to place a few more trees and houses and an industry, and then it's just like a real model railway. This is the Peace River layout I once found on the internet and I always liked it for some reason. I never have room for building this, but it can be built as a simulator in Transport Fever 2. Look here at the south loop at this water, and now look at the simulator. Well, that looks even nicer, doesn't it? And that whole layout is created in less than a day, and now what still has to be done, of course, is plant a lot of trees and bushes and houses and make a little town, and then you have fun with your own model railroad without even having it. Another example, this is a layout designed for a friend, and currently he is building this very layout at his home. This is how it starts to look right now. And before sawing all these tables and doing all the woodwork, make sure that we really like this layout. It was a good idea to first make it in a sim and see how it looks and how the trains drive around. And this is the Transport Fever layout of a real model railway that is being built. Okay, so let's have a look how we can transfer a model rail layout to Transport Fever track-wise. This is the simple layout we are going to use as an example, and we are going to turn it into this. But the scale of an HO or an N layout differs from the scale in Transport Fever, and the whole essence is it's quite simple. What you have to do is have a look at your minimum radius of a curve. It doesn't matter if it's HO scale or N scale, you always have a minimum radius that is used on your layout. And then we go to Transport Fever and we find out this is such a minimum curve, that the minimum curve in Transport Fever is 120 meters. That's essential. In Transport Fever 2, what we do is start a free game. Then we choose a map size small. Why do it larger than that? Still, this is 8 kilometers, and what we are going to do is a model railway. If you scale that to real world, it will be, let's say, half a kilometer. So we are going to use only this tiny portion of the whole map. The format 1 by 1 is okay, that's a square map. The towns, I put it on a lowest possible. and also the industry on lowest possible. I got 3 trowns and 21 industries which we are not going to use. The hilliness, water and forest, I always put them at its minimum. But if you prefer, you can slide these things up and see what happens. But since we are going to work on this tiny little area here, we are not going to even see all that. We better build water and hills and forests locally where we need them. Okay, when we are done, we can click next, and over here we still have a couple of settings to do. The start year I always do 2000, then I can get also the newest engines. The things that I choose over here are also the minimum possible things, because I don't want my industry to do anything, to grow or to close. They should be as stable as possible, and by choosing this they do just that. Then let's go to these settings. Oh, first you have to make this tick mark if it is not set already to custom. And then in the settings we are going to choose a couple of mods over here at the mods tab. Try to find in the list that you have. I probably have more mods because I already downloaded a couple. If you have not all these mods yet, try to find the urban game mods. There are 3 of them. The no cost mod, because we want unlimited money for our model railway. The sandbox mode, switch them all on, of course, and vehicles, we don't want them to have an end year. These 3 mods on, and later we will have a look at other important mods for model railroading. This is enough for now. So let's go to save what we have over there, and then start. And that opens up or generates the map for us. Okay, here is our map. Let's do some quick navigation first. Zoom out or in is the mouse wheel. To pan is a right click and move the mouse. And to tilt or rotate is middle click or mouse wheel click and move your mouse. And there also are keyboard keys to do all these same functions, and they are shown on screen. Okay, let's lay down some rail. So yeah, here is a nice spot. Let's make that first straight and our first curve. Click this rail icon over here. Select a rail. Select if you want to electrify it or not. Let's put a straight track. You don't know how long it is. Well, for now that doesn't matter. You only see the cost. Yeah, that was a game of economics. But to us cost doesn't matter. We will see later how long this track is. Let's first make a curve. Look what happens if I hover over this existing track. A blue dot appears. That is to indicate I can now attach new track over there. So let's click again and then try to make a curve. Look what happens. The black circles with the number in, they tell me not the radius, but they tell me the maximum allowed speed that the trains can drive on this curve. And no matter how much I try to move my mouse, tighter than this I cannot make it. And now my train will drive only 45. Well, for HO that is not bad. Maybe if you like to go a little bit faster, you should try to make a curve, let's say, of a speed of 50, and then look what the diameter is going to be. Let's put a speed of 50 over here. That is a little bit away of the absolute minimum. And now the question is, what is the diameter of this curve? We do have a ruler available. We first need to enable it in the settings. Go to the settings and then the advanced tab and make sure debug mode is switched on. If that is switched on, then we can open the debug menu with the right Alt plus D key, and then here at the bottom we find a ruler. And there we have it. Oh, I already had made this stripe. If you had not, you can click anywhere and then click a second time and you can measure over here. So for my diameter, I click here and then click again there. And it says 150 meter. That is the diameter for a speed of 50. And with the speed of 45, well, let's have a quick look. Let me bulldoze away this track and lay another track with 45 like that, and open that ruler again and make a new stripe from here to there, and that reads 120 meters. So that's what we know now. Minimum, absolute minimum in Transport Fever 2 is 120 meter, and with a little bit higher speed 150. Okay, what does that mean? Well, let's click this away and then that away. Well, that means for HO, normally scale is 1/87, so a 1 meter curve would translate to 87 meter in reality. But it has now become 120 meter, which means that all the other tracks of my drawing, my model railway layout that I have on paper, I do not have to multiply by 87, I need to multiply by 120, or with that little bit larger curve, multiply by 150. It's easy to remember, we did that measurement once, and we now forever know, multiply by 150. The same holds for your N scale. You just measure the minimum radius that you have. That radius will translate to 120 meters, so you can figure out your multiplication factor from N to Transport Fever. Well, let's do it. Let's make that curve of 150 and then create our oval. So let's bulldoze away that absolute minimum curve. We were going to work with that 150 curve. Okay, how long were we going to make this straight track? Well, let's eyeball it. We can use the ruler again, but this looks good to me. So let's make that other curve over here. If I put it on 50, well, as we can see, there's a little bit of tolerance. I have 50 everywhere. Let's put it over there and see if it can close the gap. Not 100% sure that this is an exact straight line, but it will be approximately okay. Well, it looks quite okay. So there we have it, our first oval. And doesn't it look nice right out, straight out of the box? Yeah, in the next video we will have a look how we can exactly paint the track over the drawing that we had, because that is important. If you have a larger layout you can eyeball it, but it's maybe nicer to have your piece of paper as a working ground, as an underlay, and then sketch your track over it. That's what we are going to do in the next video.